Albert Wexler is CEO of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast. Welcome to the Media Line, and thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, Phyllis. Really happy to be with you.
The Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast has become a fixture in many cities around the world. What inspired you to embark on this venture?
Well, when in 2016, Knesset member Robert Ilatov approached me, asking for my help to build a new alliance of the Friends of Israel, I gave him an idea that was quite crazy. And he told me also, "You are out of your mind." I said, "We need a prayer breakfast." And he said, "Look, this is the Jewish state." Having seen, what the National Prayer Breakfast movement is about, he said, "You don't expect us to pray to Jesus, are you?" And so I said, "Look, we can find something that the Jews and Christians can actually agree about." He said, "Forget it. You're out of your mind." But then he went to speak with then President Reuven Rivlin. He came back saying, "Rivlin loved it. He wants to host it. Are you going to help me or not?" So then we had this challenge of bringing the VIPs from the evangelical world together. President Rivlin, as he promised, he hosted us during the first prayer breakfast in 2017, but we didn't know, Phyllis, that this vision, this idea will take us all over the world. And we've been now in 16 cities, invited by the first ladies, invited by the presidents, invited by the senators, members of parliament to come and bring together the Jewish community and the Christian community in order to pray together for the peace of Jerusalem.
I was going to begin with, in Jerusalem, we say, what was its genesis, but you kind of hit on it already. What was the year?
That was 2017 that we had our first event, which was also the 50th anniversary for the reunification of Jerusalem.
And how many prayer breakfasts have you had already? Where have they been? Just give us a scope.
Well, we've had 6 in Jerusalem, like annual prayer breakfasts. We are expecting now our 7th on the 75th anniversary of Israel. But then we've had the last one in Brasilia, invited by the former First Lady of Brazil. We had one in Dallas, we had one in Tallinn, Estonia, we had one in Helsinki, Finland, we had one in Rome, Italy, we had one in Singapore, Canberra, we had one in Orlando, Florida, The Hague, that was quite unique one, and so on and so forth. We had so many stories, you wouldn't believe what all has happened.
When you began this, did you think that it would become such an institution?
No, we didn't. We were thinking if we can manage to get our event to happen annually, I thought we were doing good. But this really surprised us.
Polls indicate that it's tough times for religion. Do you believe in polls?
Polls are very often what they are because of the way how the questions are asked. But I guess there is an element of truth in what the polls are saying. So yes, we are in a tough moment.
And how do you see it evolving? You see many youth disillusioned. So where do you see this at the moment?
Well, we see that there are, of course, people that are getting stronger in their convictions, but then there are those who are leaving their convictions. But what Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast does is that we are bringing together these covenant relations between Israel and the nations. And I think this is something that strengthens not just Israel, but also our allies.
Is there power in prayer?
Oh, absolutely. You should have seen what happened in The Hague when the Jewish community and the Christian community came together in the Knights Hall, so-called Ridderszaal, where the king only gives his annual speech. And the Netherlands Railway, owned 100% by the government, had been dragging their feet in paying the reparations to the Holocaust survivors. And they, had been delaying paying it out. The day we were there in the Ridderszaal, and our friend Jack van der Tong spoke from the prophets, Isaiah, saying, "My people is robbed, and no one says, give back." Well, the very same night, we had something very unique happen. The host from the parliament, Eppo Branch, ran to us saying, "Do you know what happened?" And we said, "How can we know if you don't tell us?" So he said, the government finally paid out the reparations. And we're talking about tens of millions of euros that were released on that day. Now, some could say that's a coincidence. Well, I like these kind of coincidences, don't you?
You know, you were born in Estonia, but you lived in Israel for many years and you speak fluent Hebrew. What drew you to move to the Jewish state?
Well, this is a long story, actually. We started coming to Israel already in 1990. My parents then made their aliyah, and then gradually, after 18 visits to Israel, we made up our minds. And in early 2003, we made Israel our home.
How many other Estonians are living in Israel?
It's a small community. We talk about 1,000 Estonian Jews, and it's an interesting community. We actually are pretty active, meeting every year.
As you witnessed the Judeo-Christian relations evolve over the years, what gives you the greatest hope? And where is there room for improvement?
Well, I would say that there has been a major paradigm shift from the Jewish side and also from the Christian side. And I think we can track it back to maybe last 50, 40 years when it, I think, began. Of course, we've seen Ben-Gurion, inviting the World Pentecostal Conference to Jerusalem already in early 60s, Begin, sending out his emissaries to the Christian world to really make friends. Benjamin Netanyahu, he has known how to speak to the Christian world for ages. And easily he could be the president if he would have been born in the United States. But you could see that there's been a gradual shift to the point that Israeli public is saying, well, we've had a very problematic history with the Christians, but these evangelicals are actually good people. And we can see more and more rabbis feeling comfortable reaching out to the Christian friends, realizing that there is more than just, cliche type of slogans that the Christians are, accused of. But at the same time, we see that the bridges are built and the relationships are built, and we see that the trust, this is the most important thing, is built through these years.
On the other side of the question, is there room for improvement?
No, absolutely there is. And I think it would be important for both sides to study the history and to see how, for example, Theodor Herzl had a great friend, an Anglican pastor, William Heschler, and how their friendship actually led to the First World Zionist Congress in Basel. Many people don't know that Herzl invited 10 Christian delegates whom he called, for the first time, they were called Christian Zionists. So we know that Chaim Weizmann and Balfour working together, and there was a cooperation on both sides. It led to the Balfour Declaration. It led to San Remo conference, which basically became the foundation of the British Mandate, saying that the British government is favorable in building the Jewish national home in this so-called Palestine at that time. So what we can see is that whenever, you can bring many other examples like President Truman and his Jewish friend Eddie Jacobson, who basically led the way for Chaim Weizmann to meet with Truman. This is the moments that actually change the history. So yes, there is a place for improvement. Yes, but this always has come and will come through friendships. And that's what I believe that is the important word, friendships.
You have a love of political science and international relations, and you also published the first textbook about the Holocaust in cooperation with the Ministry of Education in Estonia and the U.S. Embassy. What was the feedback on that?
The feedback was actually very good because that was never been spoken about. Eastern European countries are quite, sensitive about their role in what happened during the Holocaust. And that's why pointing this out, having the historians really study and look into the facts and the stories is very, very helpful. This project was actually started by a former Swedish Prime Minister, Göran Persson, who came to Israel. And being a socialist, nobody really expected him to fall in love with the state of Israel, but he did. And he was the one who started a major project in Scandinavia, in Sweden in particular, and he started publishing these books and bringing these textbooks to the schools of Sweden. And I think it had a great impact on everybody in Scandinavia, and in particular in Estonia, that we were very successful with this book launch.
Current studies show Holocaust denial is rampant, particularly among young people. Many don't even believe that it happened. Do you feel there is a way to reverse this trend?
I believe so, and I think we need to be talking about the historical facts more than ever, because people are talking more about their truths and their opinions of the truth, whereas we need to focus on what has really happened. Of course, the culture has changed, and young people watch their TikTok and their Instagrams, and I think we need to go into and onto these platforms to reach out to them, because there is no other way reaching them. Everybody's looking at their phones nowadays.
How do people find out where they can go to a breakfast in their hometown?
Well, we have now a huge event coming in Texas, in Houston, and we will see the governor, Greg Abbott, and Ron Lauder participate in this. And Felice, you will be with us. I think it's going to be exciting. So people can look up a website in America that we use right now. It's called jpbtexas.org. We also have our main website about our annual events in Jerusalem, and it's called Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, of course, one word.org. And you can look up many things.
Albert, before I let you go, and this is very important, what is your favorite prayer?
Well, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. The Bible says, may they prosper who love you. It doesn't say who know about you, who heard about you, who visited you, who will come again. It says who love Jerusalem. Something about Jerusalem, something about loving this city, something about praying towards this place that Prophet Daniel did, even in the worst time of his life in captivity under threats. And this is a key, I believe, for many, many things that wait for us in the future.
Albert Wexler, thank you so much for joining me today on Media Line, and much success with your Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast.
Thank you, Felice, and I'll be very happy to hear you speak in Houston.
Thank you.